Hello, everybody out there on Instagram. My name is Alex Oliver. I am an occasional volunteer for Project Onward and a big fan of the work that they produce. And I've been lucky enough to be asked to host the premiere episode of Project Onward at Home, Artists at Home. We're going to kick off this first installment with one of our favorites, one of the most prolific. That's Mr. John Behnke. He is, like the rest of the artists, quarantined at home, although he is what is considered an essential worker and is still having to brave the elements and go to work every day. We'll get into that in the interview, as well as a lot of stuff just regarding his journey that led him to Project Onward, some of the inspiration behind his art, and a whole lot more. So stand by, and I'm going to bring John on board, and we'll get this thing started. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. And you'll have to bear with us if we run into any technical difficulties.
Oh, oh,
Hey,
hey,
John. How are you?
hey, Alex.
It's nice to meet you. Have we met in person before? You'll have to refresh my memory.
I don't know if you. I think I remember having seen you with Whitney in one of the openings. I don't know, Third Friday, but
Okay. Yeah,
I don't know.
there's always so many people there. There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
So we may have just kind of missed each other, but I'm definitely familiar with your work, and I've been a big fan for a long time, as I would imagine a lot of the people watching are. I want to talk about, well, first of all, thanks for doing this and kicking things off. I
Oh
hope
yeah,
you're
no
excited
problem.
about it as I am. Awesome. Right now, I want to talk about your art and about current events and how this pandemic is affecting your life and maybe your art. But first, I want to go back to the beginning and just maybe talk about you and how you got started making art. What kind of inspired you? Just a little bit about your artistic background, if you wouldn't mind sharing some of that with us.
Um, so I was going to special ed schools for a little bit, and I was kind of a troublemaker back then. It's hyperactive. I I would constantly be sent to sit outside the classroom because like if you're getting in trouble, you sit out the classroom for like 10 minutes and you come back in.
Of
You
course,
know,
I've been there. I think a lot of great artists have kind of behavioral issues.
yeah, a
Yeah.
lot of the whole that was one of the main reasons with the whole environment kind of aspect with the whole painting, just public scenes mostly that I paint, because I'd always paint. I always be stuck in hallways, and I hated the idea that I was in trouble. So I would always want to imagine that I was somewhere else. So when I was sitting out in a hallway, I always imagined like, oh, I'm not in this hallway, like being in trouble. I'm waiting for my mom in the bathroom so we can continue, and then just around the corner is the rest of the zoo, kind of thing. Like
Wow.
pretty much every public layout is pretty much very similar. You're a hallway to go to a subway train, or a hallway to go to the zoo or like a play or something. They all kind of have the similar layout with benches, wallpaper, I mean like posters. And I always thought, and for me, I always liked to, when I was younger, I used to use with pencil and paper, and I always like to draw these exact hallways that I used to be in school, and then make them look like they go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And that was kind of my thing that I would do actually when I was outside and when I was in trouble. So
Wow. That's
yeah.
great. Yeah, well, because I noticed looking over some of your art that there are things about it that's familiar. I mean, there are obviously like figures and some kind of like architectural elements and things that we would recognize in the real world. But then you put this kind of really surreal kind of psychedelic spin on it, and it sounds like you actually kind of you know prior to making this art, you actually kind of transport yourself into that world. Is that right? Like you really kind of imagine yourself there.
I mean, I try to make it. I try to avoid like it is hard because I do make everything look really lush and pretty, and I
Mhm.
really do try to avoid becoming like a Rococo style. I try to avoid making everything just look really happy.
Of course.
That's my biggest. I don't want to like because I someone said someone left me with something that was kind of sour. They told me like your art looks very similar to like North Korean propaganda art, where it's just
Wow.
really happy. And I'm not saying that like he wasn't saying that in a bad way. It was just more like it was a very interesting point because I'm not trying to make it look like everything's happy and hunky dory. And I think I do believe I did change my art style in the past 4 years. I
Hmm.
would say towards becoming a little bit more practical, adding stuff more like cracks in this concrete and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I mean, in my past work, it was just really pretty looking and, really theatrical looking artwork. And I just, it, to get back to the question, I mean, you know, I want people to feel like this is an actual place, especially that I have been working at the airport for the past 5 years now.
Hmm.
And I do feel like I see a lot of people, I see a lot of places, um, and it's, with all my paintings, even though they're not exact place, it is a memory of something that I have seen. Um, I would like paint a highway similar to going down, the Kennedy, but then I'll also add aspects to like what Miami, where Miami has a whole mural that goes down the whole highway, which is really cool. So I'll constantly keep adding stuff that I think looks cool and looks practical, but
Wow.
not something that it's like, oh, that doesn't make sense. What is this magical world? But sometimes I
Yeah.
fail to do that.
Well, I can see why someone may misinterpret your art as being especially happy or kind of like, have this kind of buoyant quality about it. There are a lot of colors, but I mean, for me personally, just from glancing at it now, I've got it pulled up on my laptop over here. There are lots of colors. They're very kind of bright and dynamic, but a lot of the scenes, one of the amazing things about your work is the contrast between these colors, and then a lot of the scenes that really appear to take place at night and in kind of a this weird
Twilight.
almost, yeah, it is kind of a twilight setting, and it gives it a very just sort of surreal, and I think there is kind of a bit of a dark undertone to it, which I really appreciated. I think it's a really nice balance of darkness and light, and
Oh
joy
yeah.
and sadness, and you kind of, yeah, I think anyone who kind of dismisses your work as just being too happy probably isn't really taking the time to look close enough at it. There's clearly a lot going on, and a lot of kind of different emotions you're trying to convey. And I'm glad you brought up working at the airport. I want to talk more about that in just a moment. But
Hmm.
first, would you mind? First of all, hello to everyone tuning in. I see we've got some people leaving comments. We're going to get to some viewer questions here shortly. But thanks so much for watching. If you're just joining us, this is John Behnke, one of the great artists at Project Onward, who's continuing to produce amazing work even during the shelter-at-home order in Illinois, which is the case all over the world right now. But it hasn't stopped him from working, and hasn't stopped us from enjoying his work. Would you tell us about how you wound up joining Project Onward? How did you get involved? How did you discover them, or how did they discover you?
All right. I went when I was in. I was during my final year of high school. I was going to Gallery 37, which is an ASM program for the city of Chicago. It's I guess seen as an honor program that you basically get paid. I think about $500 every season. Oh, sorry, my bird's here. Uh, say hi to my bird,
Hi, what's your bird's name?
Harpo. It's a
Harpo.
clown,
Yeah.
but
I did want to conduct an interview with Harpo later, but it looks like he's ready for his close up now.
yeah,
I'm
he
glad
gets
you've got.
really, he's really distracted. But
Yeah, no,
I
that's
do.
okay.
He ate all his crackers and now he's back over here asking for something. But whatever, just try to not try to ignore him for a while. Uh, but anyways, back to the question.
We're freezing up just a little here.
Um,
Oh no, that's okay.
we're good. Okay.
All right, I
Yeah,
think we're good. I think we're good.
we're good. Okay. Good. Mark Jackson that was still going to Gallery 37. And that, like I said, it was a program for high school. And I said, sure. I was 18 at the time. I was at my last year of high school. So I was like, okay, like, I want to try something new. And I keep passing, by the way, like during when I was with my teacher, with Miss Chun, which is actually my art teacher at Gallery 37. Okay. uh, she would. We kept passing by that gallery. And I was like, "This place looks so cool." I remember, like, we'll keep passing by because we need to cross over because it was like simpler just to go through Cultural Center than it was to actually go for around the streets with like 40 kids. And I was like, "Oh, that place looked really interesting." I never went inside because I never went inside. Obviously, I didn't know what it was. And then I remember getting this call from Mark Jackson. It's like, hey, we saw your work at this. Okay, okay. Yeah, he'll be back later. Okay.
Okay, great.
But he's getting very upset because I'm not giving him attention. So
Yeah, he's still in the show for sure.
yeah.
Mhm.
But anyways, yeah, I got to. So anyways, yeah, he said he saw my work at ASM. And I was like, oh, really cool. And I guess he knew Miriam, which is also my SM teacher.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, so I'm going to try it out. I was really lost, in all honesty, because because during the time I was looking at art schools, and it seemed like art schools were more looking for your grade statistics than your actual, like, not being talented. I'm not saying like, ooh, yeah, like, ooh, like, ooh, like he's a chosen one or she's a chosen one or whatever.
Mhm.
It's like I was assuming that was it when I was a kid because you have those ideas where like but a lot of them look for other stuff than just painting and drawing stuff.
Right.
And I was like, okay, and I really wanted to. Oh my god. Okay, I really wanted to go to art school, but then I realized how freaking expensive it was,
Mhm.
and I was sitting there. I'm like, okay. Now I had B's and A's in high school. I had actually a pretty good score in high school, so it was okay. But I just didn't think that was worth adventuring when it came to actually trying to make a career off painting. And I know that sounds really bad. Like I really, really bad. But I was like looking at just being a traditional artist, not I went to UIC. Okay. I went to UIC and I saw the way they actually did programs, and it was just straight up like, oh, they were just literally looking at Google Images and literally, coloring on them with pretty much MS Paint. I mean, not MS Paint, but, an actual program.
Sure, sure.
And I was like, I can't do that. I cannot, like, to be a business artist would be so hard. And
Uh-huh.
it sounds a little, and my dad used to actually make a video, like, my dad used to make Atari video games when he was actually going to college. And that's how he paid for his college, was making these video games. And he told me about it. He told me that, like, to actually make video games is like he would be told to do 20 light posts, like to actually make 20 different light posts, and then when it was done, he'll be like, okay, and then his director will be okay, make like street signs and stuff. Like it was just never enough when it comes to the
Right,
video
right,
game industry, and it's just like you're just pretty much working in a virtual sweatshop, and it's like
right.
I don't want to say it like that, but like you're just sitting there on a computer and no one's appreciating yourself, and then you have
Sure.
this big director that his name is over you,
So
and
it sounds like what you're saying is you considered going a more formal art education route, but when you realized that so much of it had to do with digital and graphic design, and that's not your medium, and it was really something you were interested in doing. You're certainly a more intuitive artist, I can tell just from your work. Uh,
yeah,
so I think it's really fantastic that you found an outlet like Project Onward that encouraged you to explore that. And it seems like, you say you were kind of lost at the beginning, but it definitely seems like you're kind of thriving now. How long is it that you've been working with Project Onward now?
it's been a decade.
A
It's
decade.
been a decade. Yeah,
Excellent. And you were born in 91, I think, according to your bio. Is that right?
yeah. It's 1991, July
Yeah.
16th.
Yeah. Fantastic. Wow. Um, So I would you mind maybe talking a little bit more about your day job at the airport? And which airport is it that you work at? Is it O'Hare or Midway?
Oh, O'Hare.
O'Hare.
Midway's been
Okay.
closed. I don't know if they're open still. I don't know if they opened, but obviously they're probably still closed. But they've been closed for like months now. So,
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, can you talk a bit um, about working at the airport? And I mean, you've already kind of talked about how it inspires your art as far as, traveling different places and incorporating all of these kind of like exotic locations and things to your work. But what's specifically about working there now, considering the sort of grim environment we've all found ourselves in? Uh, do you feel like that's inspiring anything that you're doing now in a way, just going to work, being out there, being around people during this pandemic when so many other people aren't even leaving the house?
I'm not a spontaneous artist. I do have postcards that I do. I do paint. I
Mhm.
okay, so like, and I do a little bit small mixed media drawings at the airport when I'm working there,
Oh,
and those will be very spontaneous and like right on the moment. Like I'll do something that's like okay, like a squid underwater, or something like something that I wanted to do, and something the way what I felt at that moment. But most of my actual highly concentrated work takes about 3 to 4 months to do.
hmm.
Sometimes I would say if I did it pretty much every day, maybe every day for 4 hours. I would probably get it done in 2 months. But they're very highly concentrated, and if for me to throw in things like that, and like just in the spur of a moment to a painting that that detail with dots and lines, um, it just seems a little bit inconsistent. But I do keep these memories in my head, and I never had trouble starting a painting off. Like I never had trouble, like starting a new painting. And the fact that will be planned why I'm painting the first one. So like
Hmm.
I'll be painting like a picture of Wizard Oz, which I'm doing right now, and I would be like, okay, I'm focused on what I was thinking of at that time. But later on, I'm gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna be painting this
Yeah,
because things change and like obviously have different ideas. But like I said, that's the coolest thing. It's like I process everything very slowly and have something a very visible idea of what I want to paint.
I see.
And but I'm not going to go ahead and throw something in last minute. And sometimes I really, really do. Sometimes I really want to like just do that, but I'm like, no, it's like because the vision I had was very important to me at the time, and I'm not
Yeah.
going to stop that 3 months of process just because I felt I was mad at someone that time, or
Wow.
someone affected my process.
That
You know,
sounds like it probably it makes you a very disciplined artist to be able to have that kind of control. Because I think a lot of art is probably made based on just pure impulse. People
yeah.
feel this kind of this urge to just express something that they're feeling at that moment. But for you to really take the time to really carefully consider your subject, and I mean, it shows in your work. It's clearly a lot of care was put into it. I want to point out real quick. Robin made a comment about
I didn't see it because it went down.
yeah, she said something about how you sold out. If she recalls correctly, you sold out your first show, and that you
Oh
built
yeah,
a
I
pretty big
did.
fan base in your first year at Project Onward and at the Cultural Center. Do you have
Yeah.
any memories from that first show? Was it just? I'm sure it must have been pretty exciting.
It was. I didn't think that was going to happen, and it was pretty cool because my sister and my grandma and my mom and dad was there at the time, so they're kind of like sitting there, and they're like, "Oh, like my." I think my dad wanted to actually buy one of my paintings, and he was like trying to make it, just to make me feel better, and I guess he was like, "Oh, I didn't have to." It was like it was really interesting, and I didn't think that was going to happen because I was selling stuff at the time, but like I wasn't. I was kind of underground, but I was selling stuff. I was selling stuff. It was really cool, but I wasn't expecting all of it to go away within that day. Like that was just really shocking to me, and it was
Yeah.
kind of like, but it hasn't made me like think highly about myself. It hasn't made me think like, oh yeah, like I do want to say that like I try to make sure that what I produce is something worth what it is. Okay, and I try to put the best quality, and I think by putting a long time on something, like, I don't want to make it feel like I'm trying to do this because I need to make money. I really, really like painting, and it really helps me with, like, processing things and keeps my mind in one place, honestly. So,
Fantastic. Well, it sounds like, yeah, you've managed to stay very, very humble and self-motivating. Speaking of which, I mean, obviously, I think for a lot of people, it's probably a challenge to find inspiration and find motivation to work on their art right now, while they're stuck at home, and while there's just kind of so much, uncertainty and so many scary things happening out in the world. Do you have any advice for artists, whether they're your peers at Project Onward or anyone else who may be making art, who's watching at home? How do you stay motivated? What do you suggest that they do to continue to create art in the face of all this adversity?
what's it called? It's not. I don't think it's like, you don't have to feel like you have to paint something like every single day, or paint something like every single waking day of your life. You should. It's also very important to make sure that you're kind of like listening to people around you, looking at the stuff you have, just even talking to your family. It's just very important, just to make sure that you're having a connection to what you have around you, because you don't want to just live in your brain. In all honesty, you don't want to make it feel like, oh yeah, I like nothing nothing else matters but painting. I mean, you don't live in the canvas, your world's around you, and that's how you make good work. I mean, your hand is your technique, and if you feel like, if you're not looking around in a kind of annoying situation, then you're not really feeling what's going on. you
Yeah.
know and I mean, I just don't think it's healthy to ignore the fact that there is a pandemic happening. I just don't think that is going to be productive when it comes to painting. I mean, it's just going to help you. It's just going to basically produce the same work, the same paintings. And I don't think that's healthy. For me, it's like, I actually honestly I haven't been painting actually for the past couple days, because I've been taking it like with my sister. We've been playing Animal Crossing, video games pretty much, and it doesn't mean that I'm sitting there. I'm like, I could have been using these free days and like painting. Like, that is such a toxic way of thinking, because then you're not. It's very bad to think that way, and I used to constantly think that.
Shouldn't beat yourself up. Just
Yeah.
You're not being particularly productive. Yeah.
Like, you don't want to go on a holiday. You don't want to, you don't want to go anywhere. You just want to just paint every single waking moment. And yes, I know some people say that's really good dedication, but like, it does drain you, and you might hit a rut. And when you hit a rut, you're not going to be producing anything great, I feel. I mean, there was a time when I was at Project Onward, I would say probably about maybe 3 years ago, where I was just trying to produce a lot of stuff. And not saying my work back then was good. It was still pretty good, because it was stuff that I had. But like, you will hit that rut. And it's just, you have to actually remember the fact that you're still human, and the things around you made you the person that you are. Not
Excellent.
Yeah.
Very good advice. Well, we've got several new people have joined us over the last couple minutes, so I want to say hello again to everyone watching.
Hello.
Thank you for tuning in. This is John Behnke, one of the many incredible artists at Project Onward. You can view his work, you can buy some of his work, and other incredible work produced at the studio at projectonward.org. They also have a really incredible threadless store that just added masks, which if you live in Illinois,
Yeah, I saw that.
places,
I was like, okay.
you're gonna need if you're planning on going outdoors anytime soon. I want to take some questions from some of our viewers here in just a moment, but first, I think it's time to maybe give Harpo some screen time. And I know Harpo. Speaking of inspiration, Harpo is one of your biggest, wouldn't you say?
You know what? I actually got him 2 years ago. He is 2 years old.
Uh-huh.
He's a cake. What's it called? He's not a black-headed cake. Most cakes are black-headed, but
Yeah.
what's it called? I just got him 2 years ago. I had originally had a what's it called? Hey, Harpo. No, he's gonna run. He's like no. Uh,
Does he spend a
no,
lot of time outside of the cage? I mean, I assume you have a cage for him. He's not just always.
no, he has a cage.
Yeah.
But but what's it called? He has to have at least 3 hours a day of attention, human attention, because cakes usually have two. So you usually buy two cakes, and they play with each other. You know, they wrestle and stuff. But can you see him? I don't know if you can see him.
We can just see his head. Oh, there he is.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I'm just holding it and I can't see. So like there.
No, it's all right. No, we got a good shot of him right now.
Yeah, there. Sorry, I didn't see that. Yeah, but he's 2 years old, and we got him without another bird because I'm probably gonna be fostering him after when I move away. Let's like. I think he can see himself. He doesn't like it, but what's it called?
He's just being shy.
Yeah, but what's it called? I originally had a cockatiel. His name was Spaz, and he passed away, sadly. He was actually 18 years old, so he's pretty old.
Wow.
But my sister downstairs has a Pyonis, which is a much larger parrot, and I can't run all the way downstairs to show you him, and also he's a lot more older, so he's kind of like. Actually, my sister's Pyonis is actually, I think, 23 years old. He's very old now.
Wow.
But what's it called? He is a handful. If you saw him running on my head and stuff, you know.
Yeah. I can definitely tell.
You know what? It's funny. Yeah, he wants attention when I don't like. He will bite my Switch. You get super mad at my Nintendo Switch, and he will bite it, and then because I'm playing with it too much, or then he'll pull my phone away from me, but then when I actually try to give him attention, he gets like, "Oh, I'm going to send him back in the cage or something." But
so, does he inspire your work at all? I mean, obviously, one thing he has in common is that he's very colorful. Do you find that you draw inspiration from having Harpo around?
I always had parrots. I just like birds a lot. I think it's based on just the way I do things. Pointillism, with my painting style, like pointillism, is very much clean. It's very clean work because it's just dots, and I'm able to have a very clean room because of it. So, birds are they molt and they produce feathers and dust, but they're much cleaner than having a cat and dog in your house. So I always enjoyed having
I can
parrots.
attest to that. We have a dog that makes quite a mess.
Yeah. But I always avoid. That's my one thing. It's like I can't really have pets that could produce so much mess, especially when you're painting, like putting the first layer of a painting, and then you get all this like fur in it and stuff.
Yeah.
But that was my one thing I'm really worried about. But I mean, he's a nice parrot.
He's very sweet. Well, everyone, give a virtual wave to Harpo, and then we'll move on to some questions. I guess we'll start with. So Whitney actually asked if we can see some stuff that you're working on. Do you have anything that you can show us right now that you've been working on at home?
Like I said, I'm doing the Wizard of Oz painting. It's nothing much. What's it called? Like I said, I haven't touched it in about like a week, like 3 days. So what's it called? It's.
Wow.
Can I switch? Wait, I can actually. Why didn't I just do that? Because I switched the camera the whole time. Sorry, I'm not that good with this.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, that's great. Oh, we got Emerald City there in the background. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's like I said, it takes a long time. Now, I use Liquidex Basic, so you can kind of see what's going on. So like a layer like this will take me probably about a couple of hours to do the whole background, like the whole bricks of the walls. And you can see that's very patchy in a lot of areas. See, it's very patchy in the areas I did one area of. And I don't mind that. because it's very smooth, it's very flat. You could put like, 20 different layers on top and you won't feel any texture at all. But the cool thing is that it kind of forces you to keep adding more detail. As you see, the background is still, this background's not even done yet. Like I'm still going to add more dots, and it just forces you to continually add more lines and dots, and layers just to get that actual glowy effect. So,
Yeah.
that's how my paintings look super colorful as you see the sky. The sky's not even done yet as well. Like, it's just, you just want to keep going and going until you get rid of that patchiness, until it's like multiple colors in just one cloud. And I mean, this is not the best painting to show you because I haven't painted the grass yet. But if I paint grass, I would continue to paint blades of grass, maybe 3 layers of grass, just so you can get that real, like, thousands of blades and flowers everywhere, that lush environment. And yeah. I haven't actually, right here in this area, there's going to be a train that goes over here. So
Oh,
there's going to
very
be a
cool.
train up here, train over here. There's going to be pine trees over these mountains. And, this whole valley is going to be covered in flowers, similar to when you're going to the Emerald City. So I know, like, it's very much in its kind of starting states right now, but
No, you're off
it,
to an amazing start. It looks really fantastic. And
I'm
do you suspect that any of the characters from Wizard of Oz will appear in this particular piece, or are you going to just keep it more just of a landscape?
Well, this is a fantasy picture, so I
Okay.
was contemplating doing that, but
I
it's
like
gonna
I like
be,
that it's a little more. I think it's still a little more ambiguous. I mean, anyone who is a fan would immediately recognize the Yellow Brick Road and the Emerald City, but because again you put your own kind of psychedelic spin on it, I feel like it really has an ambiguity that's really nice.
yeah,
Yeah. I want to take a couple more questions here.
sure.
Robin asked, "What artists have inspired you?"
Kara Walker
Mm-hmm.
and Seurat. I
Excellent.
always
What
I
is it?
always like here. Oh, sorry.
No, no, no.
Were you?
By the way, I was just wondering. Yeah, no. Please elaborate. I'm wondering just what it is specifically about their work that you find so inspirational.
Well, I always knew Seurat when I was younger.
Mm.
Like I was painting and drawing when I was 9. And when it came to Seurat, I was like, okay, that's the go-to artist that I keep seeing when I go to our institute. And it's a really cool. He did really cool paint, like that really cool painting. And I always follow that because I'm like, oh man, you could be like a really bad at painting, but as long as you just process something with dots and lines, you can make something amazing. you know.
Yeah.
And my lines back then, if you look at my older paintings, they were all super stubby, like really, really textured, and just there was points where like there'll be a mountain of paint on my canvas because I didn't know how to smooth things out.
Right.
But Kara Walker was, I forgot where she's from. I think she's from, I don't know if she's from the South. I know I've seen her in Chicago a couple times doing speeches. But she's a racial artist, and she does silhouettes of kind of like racial, like Southern Belle silhouettes and racial issues. But I mean, the storyline, the storyline is to her own, which is, a very interesting storyline that she produces.
Yeah.
But also, just her style is just cool that she uses solid paper pretty much. It's like solid color paper to produce a whole landscape pretty much. And I always like that. As you can see right now, everything is basically very solid,
Oh
just
yeah.
block.
Wow.
And even the sky was just one, like, everything is just like straight up like, one color pretty much. And then I add light to dark to everything. So
Yeah, that's fantastic. It looks like it's almost got. I mean, you've got a real distinct aesthetic. I noticed it in your earlier work. It's really coming through on here, but it's kind of like an almost 80s kind of what they
yeah,
call it, synth wave or retro wave or something now. Are you
the
familiar with
vape
that
wave.
particular?
I think it was
Yeah.
a vape wave or
Are you
something.
yeah,
Yeah.
are you a fan of that stuff?
I like 80s stuff a lot.
Uh-huh.
like I like 80s stuff a lot.
I mean,
First of all,
I
I
know you
like
were
the
born
music.
in the early '90s, but some of that was still very popular when you were a kid. I would imagine you probably absorbed
This
some of
is yeah. Sorry if you saw that freaking bird grabbing my wires once they use them.
it. No, it's
Yeah.
okay.
It's definitely a style. I like the colorful nature of the 80s. I'm not saying that like, ooh, I know everything about the time frame. I just usually like the colors and the
Yeah,
music.
yeah,
Obviously, that's all I could appreciate. I wasn't born then.
yeah. Right.
Um,
I was only alive for half of the '80s, but it's one of my favorite decades for music and art and culture and everything. It gets a bad rap, but it's good. A lot of good stuff was produced then.
yeah,
Yeah.
a lot
Well,
of development. A lot of development.
absolutely.
Oh,
So we had a question earlier that I thought was kind of interesting, and it was referring specifically to your squid painting, which is
oh
one.
God. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's if you go to projectonward.org right now and look at John's um, artist profile on there, you'll see it's very prominently featured, and it is a really impressive work. I'm looking at it right now. But would you like to tell us a little bit more about that and what the squid represents, and just sort of what inspired you to create that piece?
It was based on what's it called? Basically, the concept that we had more people that have been able to fly to the moon than more people that were able to go down to the bottom of the ocean. We live in a world where most of our planet is water, and the concept of like we have such kind of we have an ignorance of what is the possibilities. And I'm not really a religious person,
Mm-hmm.
but the idea that most of the perspective is like by man, or seeing something that is like, oh, a human brought us all here and something. And it's interesting because I had all these cool concepts and stories I used to write. Like one of my most interesting stories was, or one I liked a lot. Sorry, the one I liked the most was was this idea that something like an alien or something could just drive to the atmosphere once, and then that will completely change your perspective on what we see as a higher lord. So so a lot of these things, there was a story called the bloop, where it was this weird frequency that happened on like some military signals deep
Mm-hmm.
in the ocean, and cause a lot of like stigma on what possibly is in the ocean. So these phenomenons that happen are that's kind of scary, because I do feel like when it comes to religion, people are very much like, there's people who follow religion because they're good people and they want to have good direction, like they want to have direction. But like if you're a person that is God fearing, and you only do good things because you're God fearing, that might be. I know this is very kind of a topic. I mean, the painting
No,
with the
please. No, go on. There's nothing's off limits, John. We want to know what makes you tick as an artist. And yeah, someone did ask about that specifically. I figured there'd be an interesting story there.
I was
It sounds to me like this is, I mean, like you said, you don't necessarily consider yourself a religious person, but great art certainly challenges the viewer. But it sounds like you really like to kind of challenge yourself and kind of ask yourself some questions.
yeah.
Because you certainly, like, just about the sort of uncertainty about the concept of God, and about just sort of the just what may be underwater, which is still whatever
A
lies beneath the
phenomenon
ocean is still so much of that is uncharted
so
and
vast,
so uncertain. Yeah. And that's a really interesting parallel that you drew there. And it seems like it's just something that you yourself were kind of curious about and wanted to explore. And that's probably
yeah.
why you did that.
I wanted to build something like a demigod, or some sort of form that could possibly live underneath the water.
Mm-hmm.
Something that we have never seen so deep in the water, where we're literally at the volcanic, core of pretty much the Earth. And I was like, oh yeah, it'll be interesting. So I did a painting a very long time ago where it had a giant squid underwater with Mariana Trench, and it was about addiction, where it was like this idea of being on a what's it called? I'm sorry, I forgot the term again. When you're addicted and you're trying like what is it when you're trying to cut off addiction?
Like,
What's that called again?
like cold turkey, that sort of,
Yeah,
or
cold turkey.
uh-huh.
And that idea where like, one thing coming back to whatever vice you have, whatever self destruction you have, will come back. So I had a Mariana Trench, but there was puddles on the ocean floor that were like this, and they were reflecting the sky.
Hmm.
So the idea that like, you're so deep into it, but it's like just like, you could pretty much just hop back out.
Oh,
Like,
so
and
like so kind of relapsing is sort of what you're.
yeah, you could pretty much hop back into it, right?
Sure.
Like in any minute. So it's like,
Wow.
and I was like, I like that concept. So then I did it more in a different form where I was like, I brought giant squid again, and instead it was more about like I try to make it more scary. I made his mouth like a black hole because like the whole concept of like the world is the Earth. I mean the middle of our galaxy is a black hole. So I
Right.
thought that was an interesting concept. So I pretty much wanted to have like this center of the
Wow.
attention just in the
Yeah.
very bottom of our ocean kind of thing. I know it's a weird concept, and I have a lot of like there's a lot of other stuff about it, but the
Hmm.
main thing was just about the whole idea that like, what if this thing comes out of the water and like
Hmm.
it's like this is a powerful being. This is what it's the thing you're supposed to be like, looking at after. And it's like people who have these ideas and they're not being good people because they're being good people only because they're being told to, pretty much, not
Right.
because it's scary because if you change your perspective of religion,
Hmm.
like you become like a deviant or a dangerous person. And I try to avoid being that person. I just try to be good just to be good. I don't try to have a reason to be good. I try to actually just just do it because I want to treat the people the way I want to be treated, kind of thing. But it's weird because some people just have that difficulty doing that. And I work at the airport and I see these people all the time. I see people do really terrible things all the time. And it's like, you know, it's just when you look at when you're at like an art form, like an arts like background and into like industrial, corporate America background, it's like you see it all the time. It's like,
Yeah.
so a lot of my
A lot of those people would probably argue that they're good people too, and might even consider themselves religious people. But yeah, if you're not, if you know, if you're doing it for the wrong reasons, then
you know,
are you really, yeah, are you really any better than anyone else? So that's
no,
a really interesting concept to explore.
yeah, I've seen such. I mean, even after this whole outbreak, I've seen such terrible things. I see people talking about how they're not able to go on holiday, they're not able to do these things where, like, like it's an inconvenience to them, and it
Right,
upsets
right.
me because I'm like, I know people right now that aren't even getting their checks. They're getting their freaking unemployment checks
Yeah,
because they forgot to write something down, and they're not, at this point they're not even able to get a call, and it's very upsetting. Like I don't like I try to at least try to be humble. I try to like
yeah.
look at like how people are.
People certainly, there's a pretty serious kind of empathy deficit happening in the world. It's really people just don't consider, you know, what other people around them might be dealing with, what they're going through. They're only concerned with them. Um, I'd like to move on to another question. I mean, that again, that piece is amazing.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
I'm glad you laid out some of those themes for us because you've definitely helped me kind of look at it in a different light. But getting back to sort of some of your inspiration, Hammy Morto one
Hmm.
began with a comment saying that your art is very dreamlike, which it certainly is. Do you find that you get some of your ideas from dreams? Do you dream
I
art some of these concepts?
I have not remembered my dreams for so long.
Wow.
I Yeah, I had like I mean the only dreams I remember, and not to sound super like ooh dark, like the only dreams I remember are more like nightmares, like more
Wow.
like something that actually really hits me is something scary more than something that's like ooh pretty. Uh so a lot of time like I have like very vivid scary memories even when I was a kid. like still had them in my head, but like dreams, I forget every single dream I have. I not to sound like that, but like I have such a maybe it's my fault my sleep schedule. Maybe it's because I go to bed at 4 o'clock in the morning because I work super late. So but I don't know. But that's just me when it comes to dreams. I do try to I do try to produce stuff that's pretty, because I like pretty colors. my room's my room is teal. I have pink bed sheets. I do like complementary colors. So yeah.
Yeah, excellent. Well, and I know you explained earlier. Oh, Hammy is Nancy, by the way. It says, "Hi, Nancy."
Oh, is that Nancy? Hi, Nancy.
Yeah. I know you explained earlier that your art kind of starts. It sort of begins sort of rooted in reality, but then you sort of, they're inspired by daydreams, I guess you could say. You sort of take it to this more surreal kind of, different plane, and then that, in my opinion, seems to be what kind of comes out on the canvas. Is this again, it's something that sort of starts in reality, but then you just put this really incredible spin on it that gives it that sort of dreamlike quality.
Most of it comes from me remembering things. So I don't paint by photos. So like if I saw something like when I'm painting the Wizard of Oz right now, I'm not using a photo based on it. I'm using just my memory of it. So a lot of times it's like I'm trying in the beginning, it's like easy to make the sky is blue and the grass is green kind of thing looking realistic.
Yeah.
But I mean, when you get later on the painting, when you're actually adding things like light posts, trees, flowers, I mean, then it's kind of like now you're getting to such a detailed point that you're actually kind of improvising a little bit. Yeah, are you there? Yeah.
We can misremember things. We can yeah. So
yeah.
I can see how that would inspire your work too. Well, John, it's been such. Yeah, I can hear you. You're cutting out a little bit though.
Oh, you can hear me?
Oh, there you are. Yep.
Yeah. It took a second. Sorry.
No, that's quite all right. We should probably wrap it up soon anyway. I certainly want to let you get back to work, and I would like to just see if anyone else wants to throw another question out before we finish with this inaugural episode of Artists at Home. Does anyone else have a question for John? Looks
Hello.
like maybe just lots of heart emojis, lots of waves.
I see. Yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys.
Everyone, obviously, you got a lot of fans out there, John. And I want to remind everybody again to go to projectonward.org, follow them on Instagram, like them on Facebook. You have your own Instagram too, is that right, John? Is it okay if we post that? Yeah.
I think it's just
John.
Just John Behnke.
John _Behnke. That's Behnke.
Yeah.
On Instagram. Let's see. We just got a few more comments. Hey, Bird Brain says, "Do something nice for yourself today, John." I have to assume Hey Bird Brain's a fan of Harpo's as well.
Oh yeah.
Dejan chimed in, says, "Love your artwork, John." Yeah.
Oh. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Lots of support. Lots of fans. Sloop Bobby D. This is awesome. So good to hear him explain his thought process. I agree. Let's see some more artists. We will see more artists. This is only the first episode. We're going to attempt to do this every week. Of course, we may run into some technical issues along the way, but I think it went pretty smoothly for our first episode. And John, I can't thank you enough for doing this. I hope you had as much fun as I did. And just continue to make amazing work because we're all really looking forward to seeing it. We're definitely all hungry for content right now. That's for sure.
Yes. Like I said, I am going back to work tomorrow. I start working because actually, I'm sorry, I should have said that. I was on vacation actually for a week. I took my holiday this week, so yay. I guess it's a great holiday to be staying at home. But I'm coming back to work, and I think I should be on a traditional schedule that I'm more accustomed to. And I think that's mainly why the biggest problem, because it's like, when you're on a different schedule, when you're doing something that's like time consuming, like painting for 4 hours straight or 5 hours straight, having these weird circumstances will affect my paintings, and coming back to going to work would actually help me a little bit more because I know exactly the time frame that I will
Yeah.
actually be painting on. You
Right.
know.
Right. Absolutely. No, I totally understand. Having been out of work myself for a few weeks now.
Yeah.
I
I'm sorry.
it's oh no, I appreciate it. Again, a lot of people are going through the same thing or far worse. So
I
I
know.
try not to get wrapped up in my own situation too much. But I know what you mean. It's hard to, without that consistency in your schedule, it's really hard to kind of find um, the motivation to work on your art. So that's good. I'm glad to hear that you're able to kind of bring something positive from it. And I do hope that, all things considered, it's a relatively safe work environment and that everyone.
Oh, it is. Absolutely.
Oh,
American
good.
Airlines is doing a really good job. Yes.
Fantastic. Very glad to hear. Well, I hope everyone else out there is being safe and is making art, and whatever your given medium is. Thank you again so much for watching. Thank you, John. And thank you, Harpo, for making a guest appearance.
Wait, let me see if you can see Harpo again. Hey, Harpo.
There he is.
Hello.
Thank you, Harpo, the real star of the show. Look at him hamming it up. All right, everybody. I think that does it for the first episode of Artists at Home, new, hopefully weekly series from Project Onward. John, enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and we'll see you again real soon, okay?
Okay, you take care, Alex, okay?
All right, thanks, pal.
See you, Project Onward. Bye.